Let me tell you something that might actually unsettle you. Some of the smartest people walking around right now, people who can read a room the moment they walk in, who see outcomes before they happen, who somehow always know when something is off. They didn't develop those abilities in a classroom. They developed them the same way you develop scar tissue, slowly, painfully, because they had no other choice. And nobody ever told them that made them rare. Instead, they were told they were anxious, too sensitive, too much. So if you've ever felt like your brain operates differently, like you're always scanning, always processing, always 3 steps ahead in a conversation that hasn't even started yet, stay with me, because what I'm about to share might be the first time any of this has ever actually made sense. Sign 1. You read people with an accuracy that almost feels unfair. This isn't cold reading. It isn't a trick. It's something quieter than that. Someone walks into the room, and before they've said a single word, you've already noticed something. A micro-expression, a smile that's slightly too controlled, the way their shoulders are sitting differently than last week. And you're usually right, not always, but enough times that it unsettles people, including yourself. Here's what's actually happening. When children grow up in emotionally unpredictable environments, a parent whose moods shift without warning, a home where the atmosphere could change in seconds, the brain adapts. It becomes extraordinarily sensitive to subtle signals. Psychologists call this hypervigilance. It was originally a survival mechanism. The problem is, it doesn't switch off. It follows you into every room, every relationship, every ordinary afternoon that feels heavier than it should. And the result is an almost involuntary ability to read people that most others simply don't have. Sign 2. You understood things emotionally before you could explain them logically. You knew a friendship was ending before there was any real evidence. You felt the shift in a relationship before the conversation happened. And when you tried to explain it to someone, you couldn't. It just felt true. And then it was. There's a reason for this. Traumatic experiences, especially early ones, are processed differently in the brain than ordinary memories. Research in trauma neuroscience has consistently shown that the body encodes emotional experience in a way that bypasses the conscious verbal brain entirely. That's why trauma responses feel so physical, so immediate, so beyond words. That same encoding means your nervous system carries awareness that your thinking mind hasn't caught up to yet. You feel the answer before you can argue for it. What looks irrational from the outside is actually a different kind of knowing. Sign 3. You experience empathy in a way that sometimes genuinely overwhelms you. This isn't the kind where you say the right thing because it's appropriate. It's deeper than that. Someone else's pain lands in your body. A stranger's story on a screen makes your chest do something specific. And sometimes you genuinely cannot figure out where your feelings end and someone else's begin. Psychologists call this emotional contagion, the unconscious mirroring of another person's emotional state. Everyone experiences it to some degree, but people with trauma histories experience it at a completely different intensity. The same hyperattunement that makes you exceptional at reading people also means you absorb everything you read. And it's worth being honest here, because this video would be doing you a disservice if it wasn't. These abilities come with a cost. The pattern recognition misfires sometimes. You read threat in situations that are actually neutral. The empathy tips into over-responsibility, and you end up carrying weight that was never yours to carry. The constant scanning is genuinely exhausting. This isn't a flaw in you, but it is real. Sign 4. You self-sabotage right at the edge of something good. This one is uncomfortable to say out loud. You work towards something, a relationship, an opportunity, a version of your life that actually looks the way you want it to. And then when you're close, something happens. You pull back. You pick a fight that didn't need to happen. You convince yourself it was going to fall apart anyway. You leave before you can be left.
Psychologists connect this to something called the window of tolerance, the bandwidth within which your nervous system can function without tipping into overwhelm. Here's what sounds contradictory, but is completely true. If safety and stability weren't the baseline of your early environment, your nervous system actually reads safety as a threat. The calm in your memory was always the quiet before something broke. So when things start going well, your body doesn't trust it. Recognizing this is one of the most disorienting things a person can do, because it reframes the behavior not as a character flaw, but as a learned response shaped by conditions that no longer exist. Sign 5. You're deeply self-aware, but that awareness still doesn't always stop you. You know your patterns. You can name them, trace their origins, explain them clearly, and then you watch yourself do them anyway. That gap between knowing and actually changing is one of the quietly painful things about this kind of intelligence, because awareness isn't the same as healing. It's a beginning, a real one. But the brain doesn't update through insight alone. It updates through new experience, repeated enough times, in a body that slowly learns that things are different now. But here's what I want you to take from this. It doesn't mean the intelligence was wasted. It means you've been doing something incredibly hard for a very long time, with very few people who truly understood what it costs. And maybe, starting right now, that begins to change. If any part of this felt uncomfortably familiar, I want you to know something. Understanding these patterns is one thing. Actually shifting them is something else entirely. And most people genuinely don't know where to start. So if this resonated with you, drop a number in the comments. The number of signs that felt like they were describing you personally. And if you know someone who has always been told they're too sensitive or too much, send this video, because sometimes the most powerful thing is simply finally feeling understood.